The following is a Papi Chulo Radio original program. The views and opinions expressed in the commentaries and/or interviews in the following program are solely those of the individuals and are not views of Papi Chulo Radio, its parent, affiliate, or subsidiary companies.
Welcome to the Silver Bells Murders, the unofficial American Gothic internet radio show exclusively on PapiChuloRadio.com. Papi Chulo Radio, pop culture on demand. Today is Friday, June 24th, 2016, and I'm your host, Mike. During tonight's broadcast, we're going to recap, review, and dissect the latest episode of CBS American Gothic. Please welcome my co-host, Ava Stark.
Hey everyone, I'm excited to talk about this episode.
Glad to have you. Jess.
Hi everybody, hope you enjoyed the episode.
Nice. Papi Chulo.
I'm super excited to chat with everyone about the episode. Hey listeners, welcome potential Silver Bells killers.
Yeah, that's right. And last but definitely not least, Samantha Hoover.
Hey everybody, I'm so excited to chat with you about this episode.
All right. So let's jump into our recap of Season 1, Episode 1, titled Arrangement in Gray and Black. And it was aired June 22nd, 2016. Here's the official synopsis of the episode. A prominent Boston family reels in the wake of the chilling discovery that someone in their midst is linked to an infamous string of murders. After 14 years, the case of the Silver Bells killer is reopened, and the Hawthorne family find themselves wondering if one of their own could be behind the grisly killings that rocked the city of Boston. As shocking secrets from the past and present are revealed, their mounting suspicion and paranoia that one of them is a killer threatens to tear the family apart. So, before I get everyone's initial reaction, gonna go ahead and talk about the ratings real quick on its premiere. It actually was shown on TVLine.com that it was 3.5 million with a 0.7 in the demographics. So, now that I got the ratings out of the way, I want everyone's initial reaction to the very first episode of American Gothic. We'll start off with Jess. What was your initial reaction?
My initial reaction was excitement, first of all, because I've been looking for a good new mystery series to kind of keep me in suspense. It's weird because I love series like this, but I also can't watch them by myself in the dark because I will legitimately piss myself, and my poor dog, he has to sit there on the couch while I maul the crap out of him with my hugs because I'm scared. But no, I thought that this premiere was very, very strong. However, I do think that when all is said and done, there was something that was missing from it, and I'm not quite sure what it was, but it was just lacking a certain punch for me, and I'm sure it will get better as time goes on. But so far, I really like what I've seen. It's just not instant classic status for me yet, but I'm sure it will be. But it was a very strong premiere.
Yeah, I definitely get where you're coming from. And Ava, what was your initial reaction?
Well, I didn't, at first I was like, what the hell just happened? But as I was watching the show, one of the actors who plays the detective, his name is Elliot Knight, who also was in Once Upon a Time. He is a sweetie. He's so cute. So I was so excited seeing him. But yeah, when I finished watching the episode, I was like, what's going on here? I was very confused in the beginning, but hopefully the show will kind of. I mean, it is a suspense show, so I won't expect anything clear coming my way. But we shall see.
Right, you're kind of hoping that it would shed light as the series progresses.
Yeah.
I get you. What about you, Samantha? What was your initial reaction to the episode?
At first, I was very intrigued by the Hawthorne family. They were like this really high-class family. They seemed like perfect. And then the tunnel collision happened, and everything just kind of started falling apart. And I was like, wow, that was like a really bad assumption on my part. And, you know, and then their son, Jack, really resonated with me. Like, he was just the most creepiest little kid I've ever seen. Like, he's like, look at this dead body I drew. Look at this dismembered cat. And I'm like, what? Like, I don't know where this comes from, but like, they all know something, and it's just like, I don't know if that's what Jess was saying was missing, maybe. It just felt like something was off. Like, it was too perfect.
Something was like something wasn't there, or something wasn't really clicking. Like,
Yeah.
It just felt awkward.
Yeah, it was perfectly awkward, if that makes sense.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
And what about you, Poppy Chulo?
I loved it. I'm here for it. We've got a bunch of batshit crazy, nutsy cuckoo Hawthorns, and I love it. We got horny Hawthorns, we've got potentially murderous Hawthorns, we got really creepy Hawthorns. I'm here for it. You know, I judge summer series very differently than I do series that, you know, typically are airing from like early fall to like late spring. Summer series are supposed to be campy. They're supposed to be almost like a trashy beach novel, and I got everything.
Beach novel. I haven't read that in a while.
I know. I got everything that I wanted from American Gothic. You know, there was the horny couple, there was the murderous couple, there was creepy children. I'm here for it.
Nice. And I think my initial reaction was it pretty much got me intrigued. It got me intrigued because kind of like how it was mentioned, where the family itself, it seems really interesting. To me, I don't feel like they're all that plain. I feel like they each have a distinct characteristic about them that makes them unique in their own way. And I think the little kid is what kind of struck me as odd. Like, why is this kid thinking like this? Why is he being like this? Like, it kind of just made me feel really awkward because
he just needs a hug.
He doesn't. He needs to go in psych.
No, he needs to go.
Oh my god.
Yeah, he needed a
Fuck that little
really
shit.
warm embrace with a straight jacket.
Something like that.
He was
Yes.
cute. He's misunderstood.
Okay,
How
he
the
Poppy?
Anyway,
he cut a
dude,
cat's tail off.
What?
Did y'all forget
Oh
that?
gosh, there's a revolt.
I guess your definition of cute is definitely different than mine, for sure. And before we get into a thorough recap into that, here are a few reminders on how you can interact with the show via social media. Follow the show on Tumblr at thesilverbellsmurders.tumblr.com. Follow the station on social media. We're on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and of course Tumblr at Poppy Chulo Radio. Help support Poppy Chulo Radio financially by visiting GoFundMe.com/Poppy Chulo Radio. Do you have any questions, suggestions, comments, or maybe even concerns? Email us via contact@poppychuloradio.com. Are you interested in joining the Poppy Chulo Radio team as an on-air personality or maybe even a blog contributor? Email talon@poppychuloradio.com. You can binge listen to your favorite Poppy Chulo Radio programs by visiting poppychuloradio.com/archives. And search for the Silver Bells Murders through iTunes and hit the subscribe button. New episodes are available to download on Fridays throughout the summer. Let's go ahead and dive right in. So, in the beginning of the episode, we kind of see, a couple pretty much driving on their way to their parents' house, which we can assume. And then we notice that the ceiling part of the highway down below just suddenly just snaps and crashes bits and pieces of it. I don't know if it was just me, or at first I thought it was them. I don't know why. At first I thought so.
Yeah,
I was
me
like,
too.
wow. Okay, good. I thought it was literally just me. I thought it was literally like, oh, okay, they're already going to start with the murders. Oh, okay, that's cool. That would have been interesting, but I'm kind of glad it didn't, because I thought that would have been kind of weird.
Yes,
So
it's what they call a misdirect.
right, it was a huge misdirect for me. I was like, what? Like these two just suddenly appear, and you think, oh, okay, they're part of the entire cast, the main cast, and they're dead. Oh, okay, that's cool. I thought that was really funny. So as we speed up through, we kind of notice that we go into the Hawthorne's residence, and one of the first things that's noticed is that you notice that the mother, which you can kind of tell based on her features and everything, she's looking at pictures up on the second floor and by the stairs, and she takes a picture down and she decides to put another one up, and her husband comes up to her and says, why are you taking a picture down of Garrett? He mentions the name of Garrett, so it's understood that Garrett is a part of the family, could be a son or whatever, assuming that you're still looking at the episode. And then he says that he's part of the family. So what was y'all's initial thought process behind her switching the pictures, doing all that, making the house presentable in that fashion?
I thought that once we saw who he was, that he was the disgraced family member, that there was someone, I think that word was used. I notably saw that his mom and him had tension. It was pretty bad. So besides whatever happened there that we don't know about yet, his mom just really did not like him coming back after 14 years.
Right. They thought it was kind of interesting or kind of out of the blue for him to come out of nowhere. But we'll go ahead and get into that later on. So as the story progresses, we notice that one of the daughters shows up with her family. And she shows up with her campaign manager named Naomi. And Allison, and then during that time, we start to know a little bit more how Allison's presence is. Did y'all get any type of vibes from Allison, or were you kind of just like, oh, okay, it's one of the daughters, there's nothing really special about it? What was y'all's initial reaction to Allison?
She seemed very type A. She seems to be the type of person that's in control of things, and she's there gathering the family together because she's trying to make a run for mayor, and she needs to get everyone on board to make sure that they're the perfect family because of the media and photo ops and all that kind of stuff.
So it looked more like the fact that she was dressed very professional, but it seemed like she needed to understand that she's in control and that she understands everything that's going on.
Yeah, I would say she's the boss of the siblings. She seems to be the one that likes to be in charge.
Boss. There we go, boss of the siblings. That pretty much nails it for her. That was my reaction towards her too. The fact that she came off very proper, very kind of like alpha dog-ish in the way where she's wanted to showcase that she understands everything that's going on and she's the one that has control of everything that's going about. But the only fact that she has a campaign manager to make sure that everything goes smoothly as possible for her to win the election for her to be mayor. So then as we move on a little bit more, we kind of notice that Cam, which is one of the brothers, is greeted by Allison, greets her, and we notice that she looks at his arm and says, well, you look good. So it's kind of understood that Cam was some sort of a drug user, or he used previously, and she kind of wanted to make sure that he was in control as well, kind of like what you had mentioned, where she wanted to make sure that she understands everything that's going on, that nothing is going to blindside her. Mm-hmm. So the fact that you could tell as far as where the camera was showing on his arm, that, well, okay, he was a drug user. So when Cam kind of shows up, did anybody get a feel of how Cam was as an individual, or what did y'all think of him?
Just a typical someone who used drugs.
Just like a typical druggie?
Mm-hmm. Junkie. There we go.
What about you, Jess?
Honestly, seeing the first two siblings, I mean, when they first mentioned Garrett, I, honest to God, thought he was like a disgrace in a different way. I thought he was like the father's illegitimate son or something like that. And so the mother was really upset at having to display him and be like, yeah, I guess he's part of our family, sort of shit. And then the daughter seemed kind of like she was trying to make up for everybody else's faults. Like the older daughter, whose name I'm forgetting right now.
Allison?
Yes, there you go. She seemed like she was trying to make up for everyone else's faults. And so when the other brother showed up, it was kind of expected that he would kind of be a screw up. And I think that's a little bit of the problem that I have with this series, because so far all we've seen is that they are very much stereotypical character molds. There's nothing that really sets them apart from, you know, a cookie cutter version of that same character that we've already seen a million times.
Yeah, that makes sense. Considering that it doesn't give a special taste towards a specific character. Like, they're the typical profile that you would potentially see. So I can see where you're coming from.
Yes, but Jack just threw me right off.
And you see, that's the part that I kind of want to get into just a little bit.
Jess is our version of Jack.
What?
I highly doubt that.
Oh my god.
I'm just, someone help me with words to help Jess's case.
Jack.
Anybody? No.
There's no defense.
I was
which
about to
is
say,
sad.
I am trying really hard to defend her right now. I'm sorry, Jess. I'll come up with better words for you later. I promise. So that's the part I actually kind of want to get into. So as it speeds up through, we kind of notice Tess comes into with her husband, and they're all sitting in, I guess, a living room where it's the parents, Allison, Tess, Cam, and Brady. We notice that Naomi then decides to have a little bit of a meeting to remind them that they need to appeal to the middle class, to be able to showcase that they understand what it means to be middle class, to make sure that they appeal to the audience, to appeal to everybody. So they decide to showcase that, well, we do know what it means to be middle class. The fact that Tess is a school teacher, Brady is a cop, which he got promoted to detective, and Cam is an illustrator who, you know, draws and illustrates for newspaper articles. And then Cam's son gets asked by Naomi if, is that what you want to do too? And he makes the remark saying that he wants to be a medical examiner, that he really is excited for autopsies. So we notice that the entire family is literally silenced. They are completely shocked, and they don't know how to deal with this type of answer coming from this child. And Cam kind of throws in a little bit of humor, like, oh, it's just a phase, you know, it's nothing, you know, nothing too serious. So when y'all heard that first remark coming from Jack, Cam's son, what did you think of the son?
He's got some problems.
You think he's got some problems?
Yes, instantly. I was like, okay, he's off.
Oh my gosh. As soon as he, said that, the echoey, eerie rendition of Something's Wrong with Jack by Sparkle Horse just started playing in my head, and every time that he would pop up on the screen, I would get Sparkle Horse's Something's Wrong with Jack. What a creepy little...
Yeah, when he said medical
little-
examiners, it was as if it echoed through the house, like medical examiner. And
then everybody is
old
just...
10, I think.
Yeah, I thought he was maybe like 10, maybe 11, but I don't know if this was shocking or if you guys thought this was shocking. The fact that the way that he was able to articulate his answer and explain why he wants to choose that profession, and he said it so intelligently, kind of threw me in for a loop, because he seemed to answer in such a mature way, but it just seemed so awkward coming from a child who you would think that somebody at around his age would be more into video games, action figures, something that we find average or normal towards his age. But then
Plenty of
He has
psychopaths
no
talk
age.
normally.
Thank you, Papi Chulo.
Oh, he's just so wrong on so many levels. And, I think the family knows that. I think
Think
that
so?
I think they're covering up for him, because this kind of behavior, the way he acts and reacts to situations, I'm sure you're going to get into that later on in the episode, but the way that he, deals with the world around him, his family has to know, and I'm sure that they're protecting him or like brushing it off or trying to be like, oh, he's bright for his age. He's just odd. No, your kid is just Satan, okay? Something's wrong with Jack.
Well, either they know or they're so stuck in their own lunacy and like the drama in their own lives that they just don't even notice it.
You know what? It reminds me of that show. It was canceled, but The Family that was on a while ago.
Oh, yes.
The family dynamic almost completely reminds me of that one. Like, the mother is trying to be a politician, she's got all these things going on, and the middle son is clearly not right in the head, and all of these things are happening, and they, surface level, they're a very nice, typical, average-looking family, but when you open the door and you actually spend some time with them, they have a lot of fractures and a lot of cracks and a lot of broken places, and I don't think that they relate to each other properly, and I don't know if that was like an intentional thing for the series to start off with, or if, they're just not 10 out of 10 comfortable with each other yet.
I have a theory about Jack, actually. As a young child, he might have seen something involving like maybe an autopsy or like a body maybe in the house. Yeah, because, kids just say the darndest things, right? And why would he be able to...
They really, really do,
honestly,
especially Jack.
So does
especially
Jess.
Jack. But
I'm
honestly,
not a child!
Oh, that is true, though.
But his drawings are so articulate. It's like, oh, here's my grandfather on a deathbed, and here's this guy being strangled, here's this cat being dismembered, which he kind of took part in later in the episode when he cut the tail off. So yeah, I think he might have seen something, and the family is trying to like brush it off, saying, oh, he's just a kid, this is just a phase. But they really don't want anyone else to know that he saw something.
That's a really interesting theory, considering that he kind of picked that profession. I mean, it would seem logical of anything. So, but we're gonna go ahead and get into that a little bit later on. But actually, it's a really good theory. I'm really impressed with that.
Thank you.
So we kind of go with later on where Allison gets a call, and she gets a phone call, and she gets news about the incident that happened on the expressway where the ceiling collapsed on bits and pieces of the expressway. But they kind of noticed that the cement or the part of the structure was part of the Hawthorne Company, the concrete company in which they established. So Allison decides to say that, well, this, might be an issue. The fact that the fact that the Hawthorne Company is a part of that this might come back and definitely hurt her position running for mayor. But we do find out in that incident that a belt was found at the scene that belonged to one of the victims from the Silver Bells murder, and that it was still on the victim, that apparently DNA prints were found on the belt, so that it could be the potential murder weapon that the Silver Bells murder had.
Dun dun dun.
Dun dun is right. So,
wait, so are we totally hopping over Tessa and Brady having sex in the supply closet?
Damn,
I really want to talk about this.
Yeah, and you see, and I was trying to like.
And she was like, "Someone's coming," and he's like, "Not yet, not
Great.
You would be the one to remember that, right?
That was like the line of the episode.
I was just gonna say, I bet you it was his favorite part.
I bet you anything that is what he was gonna remember. Well,
I was like, they went there.
Since we decided to go there, what did you guys think of the, how we say, the couple that really wanted to go out there and just do it? So what did you guys think of them doing it there, trying to do it there?
I don't care how horny you are. I don't care how much you're ovulating. You are not banging in your parents' house when they can catch you. That's not classy.
Why not?
Or it's classy with a K.
Why not?
Hang near the food. Like, that's
Wait,
what
so
I
you've
would
done
do.
it, Jess?
No, I'm just saying. I totally would. If the opportunity arose and there's like food right there, you get your exercise and you get your noms.
And you're all
You could
sweating.
have two different kinds of protein.
Rehydrate. Orange juice.
Oh
for-
my god.
Or at least you have more than two people involved. But I'm just saying.
Jess, are you talking about orgies in the kitchen?
I might be. No, I mean, like, good for her because she did mention, like, she has that app on her phone that tracks her ovulation cycle. So for me, that led to, like,
odd that it's on her phone. I don't know if it's just me, but I kind of find that a little odd.
There's an app for everything.
really, you can track your period and everything with your cell phone. Like, it's so
Wonderful.
revolutionary. You no longer have to play Russian roulette with your good underwear.
Well, Jess, I also track your period.
Oh my god.
I can't with you people today. Audience, I
I'm just
completely
aggression.
apologize for this sex ed.
If they're gonna throw in a sex scene, might as well do one where you could get caught by your
Similar.
parents.
More interested in the snacks that they were holding.
Oh my gosh.
What kind of snacks were those? Like, inquiring minds need to know.
We'll go ahead and let you decide what those snacks were, Jess. But in any case,
They should have had some Twinkies.
right? They should have had that. So we kind of know. We go ahead and find out that the belt itself that was found inside the concrete has DNA prints on it. That it's potentially a murder weapon. Mind you, the news reported that the Silverbell's murder killed 6 people and left no trace of evidence except a small silver bell in each of the crime murders that happened between 1999 and 2002. So, what did you guys think of them finding the belt? Do you think that it was kind of odd that it was a belt inside a concrete, or did it give anybody any theories as to maybe how the belt got in there, or what do you guys think?
Well, because we were introduced to this family, I was like, okay, it's someone in the family. I mean, it's their concrete, it's their construction job. There has to be a connection. It was immediately, a sort of like alert for me to be like, okay, now I have to be suspicious of this family.
So because you saw that the murder weapon was inside, that you kind of immediately believe that it's somebody in the family? You don't think they could have been framed or they could have been the target for it?
Well, since we were introduced to the family, I mean, it just immediately pointed to the family. It was like, okay, these people are now officially suspicious in my eyes.
Okay. Anybody else? Did anybody else get the same type of feeling, or did they think something else?
I think someone's body maybe decayed. Someone threw the murder weapon in there with the body, and then like someone just laid concrete over it. Like, that's what I thought, anyways. But yeah, they're definitely suspicious for sure.
Makes sense. So during that time, we see Allison making a speech about the case itself and the fact that they found a murder weapon, and she decides to say, that we'll get through this, we'll be fine. But then we notice that their father collapses. He has a heart attack, and that's when he gets sent off. We kind of notice that Tess decides to say, you know what, that we should tell our brother Garrett that, he should know he's our brother and it's his father. So then the mother kind of states that, well, if he really wanted to come back, then he would have given an address and he wouldn't have gone off the grid. So you guys had mentioned that it was kind of interesting that the mother kind of didn't have a relationship with one of her sons. I mean, the fact that it's one of her sons. So we kind of get the feeling that something must have happened before he left or something, because she kind of just says, you know what, well, if he really wanted to be here, he would be here, or he wouldn't have gone off the grid or anything like that. So do you guys think that little part when she had stated, he wouldn't have gone off the grid or anything like that, do you think overall it might have something to do with the forwarding of the plot? Do you think that plays a very vital role, or do you think it was kind of like a filler, like a little extra drama?
Since this is the first episode, for me at least, like, I was following all the clues. Like, when the father collapsed because of the heart attack, I was like, oh, okay, he had a heart attack because they're talking about the killer, so he must be the killer. But then when we were introduced to the clue of the son, who's kind of like the black sheep that vanished, but that he sort of like left the compound, because he left the compound on his own accord and decided to estrange himself from the family, I was like, okay, maybe he's suspicious, because why was he gone all this time, and why did his leaving of the family have to coincide with when the Silver Bells killer like committed his last strangulation?
Right. So you kind of felt that it was kind of strange or odd that he would suddenly just come into the picture.
Correct. And this is the
nowhere.
pilot. They're dropping a lot
Right.
of red herrings because they're not going to tell us who the killer is in the
Of
first
course.
episode.
Of
But it
course.
makes it interesting because it's like, okay, so I got my eye on you, I've got my other eye on you, I've got one of my eyes on my back on you, and then I've got the other eye in my back on you. So I'm looking everywhere.
So it was more on the premise of opening the doors to possible theories and to possible speculation, what they were trying to do as far as this particular episode, that we'll go ahead and go in a little bit more detail.
Exactly. I've also got my eye on Jess because I have a feeling that she somehow is in the show.
Something's wrong with Jess.
Something's got to be wrong with Jess.
But for real though, I thought the older brother, I was like, you know what? Like, I was suspicious of him for like 2 seconds, and then I was like, you know what, Garrett? You fucking go. He probably saw how dysfunctional and weird his
Oh
family
my gosh,
was,
you're like, save
and
your
was
life.
and was like, I need to get out of here. I'm leaving. Fuck these people and their weird, creepy serial killerness. I'm gonna go live in the woods or something. It's gonna be more normal than what I experience here. So I felt real sympathy for him, and I wanted to like stroke his hair and feed him meatballs. Is that weird?
Yes.
The meatball, yes. The stroking of the hair, I mean, he's got a good beard, so I can see why. But
Facial hair freaks me out, so no, just the hair.
oh, just the hair. Gotcha. Oh, definitely write that memo down.
The hunting knife, though, that took some balls, man. I would be
Right.
scared to let that go near my face, let alone, facial hair.
So you did bring up a really interesting point where the fact that some people would believe, well, it's kind of suspicious that he decides to come back now when this incident happens. But then the flip side to that would be, well, maybe he wanted to get away from the family, the fact that they have some sort of dark secret that he knows about that he just did not want to be a part of, but he didn't want to tell anyone about it because he felt that it wasn't really his place to say anything. So you do bring up a really good, possible point where maybe he just didn't like what was going on and he wanted to get away and have no contact with anyone. So you make a really good point there. So then in the hospital, we kind of notice that Cam's ex, well, soon to be ex, assuming, because they're trying to get a divorce and everything, that she comes back, Sophia, who is the mother of Jack. And Cam and Sophia talk for a little bit and say, Sophia says, you know what, hopefully we can work this out, I'm here for you. And Cam says, no, I really shouldn't,
She seemed like a lovely, respectable woman.
Oh, yes, definitely. Because she definitely gave me that impression. So we kind of get this impression that, well, she's definitely had something to do with or was a part of Cam being a drug user, because earlier in the episode it was mentioned by Allison to Naomi that, well, which is her campaign manager, tells her that, well, the fact that Cam has been clean for at least a year and Sophia is, quote, either always on something within 5 minutes. We kind of get the impression of what Jack's parents are. So do you guys think that because of the way Jack is relative towards the way Cam and Sophia are, since he's considerably half of both of them?
Absolutely.
Right?
With the drug use, and then Sophia was off.
Sophia was off.
Yeah, she was definitely off. Like, Cam was a little
Well,
more...
to be
bitter.
honest, everyone's a little off.
Well, yeah.
Except for Tessa.
Nice
I
way
love
to
that.
describe her, Sam. You're like, she was a little off. She was off her rocker fucking nuts. But yeah,
Oh
she
my
was
god, Jess.
I compartmentalize that because she's off in the sense that she's using drugs. Everyone else is just kind of insane. She's
That-
kind of
that-
a little less
Hashtag
sane.
accurate.
Yeah.
We haven't really gotten to see much of her, so I wonder if like there's something darker, but also like, is this show kind of suggesting a genetic predisposition towards being evil, or is it grappling with the moral question of whether monsters are born or made?
Well, it kind of depends, because we're going off of this preconception that, well, the way that Jax presents himself is due to, like how it was mentioned earlier, a theory. Well, maybe he may have been exposed to something in his environment that made him turn out that way, or was he really truly born this way, and it just so happens that he just shows a more prominent side of it due to the people that he's with.
Well, Lady Gaga would say he was born that way.
I see. Dear
But I
Lord.
think she was fighting for a different kind of good. This is like the chaotic good.
Yeah,
Well, that's true too.
true. So moving on just a little bit, we speed up a little bit, and the family decides to say, you know what, Mom is going to stay here at the hospital, Margaret, and the kids decide, you know what, we'll go ahead and stay at the house for a few days, just in case. And Allison decides to opt out and say, I'd rather just go sleep in my place. So it speeds forward, and we notice that they are at the house. We notice that Tess looks outside. So I guess you can say to maybe like a shed or like a garage or something connected to the house. And she goes outside and she finds Cam snooping around in the shed. I guess that's what I'm going to call it. I'll call it a shed. And notices that he has a stash of drugs. And at first he tells her it's just weed. And she says, well, really? Is it really just, that? And he says, no, it's not just weed. It's other stuff. Whatever you guys want to decide to postulate on that, it's really up to you. But we all know that it's drugs. So she tells him that she's not here to judge, that she's there for her support, and that if she wants, we can find the drugs and we'll throw them away together. She says that I'm not like Allison. She brings up Allison and says, I'm not going to judge you. I'm not going to get upset with you. I'm not going to be like Allison.
Mm-hmm. Boss bitch.
Right. So we kind of get a sense of her personality coming from a different source instead of our own subjective viewpoint. We now know, especially from Tess's account, that Allison tends to be very abrupt, that she tends to be in your face, questioning everything you do and making sure that you're in line with according to what she believes is right. So we notice that also that they decide to say, you know what, let's go and look for the drugs and see if we can find them and we can throw them away. But Tess finds a box full of what? What does she find, Jess?
Death!
Oh my gosh. It was a box of Jack's drawings.
Oh my god.
Death. Death everywhere.
Death!
Well, you could say it's death in a box. She finds the silver bells.
Death in a box.
You could say it's death in a box.
I
more
think
like-
Justin Timberlake made a song about that.
Really?
Don't
No,
look
it
it
was
up right
death.
now.
Wait, that's a real song? I thought that was just an internet meme. Oh my god.
Saturday Night Live.
Wow.
You people are killing me.
But yes, no, Silver Bells, very creepy.
Bears. Silver bears.
Aw, silver bears.
I thought of that too.
Right? I thought it was silver. No, sweetie. It's bells, not
Sounds like Christmas.
sweetie.
Gosh,
No.
we're more dysfunctional than the Hawthorns.
Something like that. But we kind of get this feeling that, well, something else is also in the box too. We notice that it's the newspaper of the very first drawing that was there. So before I move on further,
Well,
What did
it was a newspaper clipping with one of Cam's drawings.
right, with one of Cam's drawings.
So that's how they figured that, this can't be something that was just like willy-nilly placed here. This has to have always been here, with us, with the family.
So, what did it make you feel, or what did it make you believe something, or did it further develop the theory that you have already?
I thought it was Cam. I was like,
You-
he is the killer.
You
But
thought it was
then,
Cam?
yeah, because, the way he acted, I was like, this guy is suspicious. I mean, he says he's there
you like
for
have
his
to look
drugs.
at all their faces, right?
Yeah, like their expressions are really good. Like, I have to give it to those actors. But then I'm like, as the story continued, I was like, is it really him? What? This is really like one of those board games. Who done it?
Yeah, this is like real life Clue.
Yeah.
Except with a very dysfunctional family and a couple that just wants to have sex in their parents' house. Yeah,
Well,
definitely.
that too.
Right.
Actually,
Miss Scarlet was horny.
I actually
True.
didn't think it was Cam at all. I just didn't get that vibe from him. I know he was like looking for his drugs. That was what he was focused on. But then he found the bells and he was just like, interesting. I think they mentioned actually, but I kind of thought this. Maybe they got the house from the killer. Does that make sense? Because why are there like 10 plus bells and then there's like the exact clipping of newspaper? Like there's a lot of, it's not just one bell, there's like 10 or 12 there.
Yeah, there was like 12 to like 14 bells,
Yeah.
and you can tell that the bells had been used because you'll notice at the end of the box they were in a row, but then the row started messing up as far as like as if somebody had taken them out
Yeah.
to use them. That's what it looked like, as opposed to Tess hitting the box when she was looking for it and noticed that they were there. But it
Yeah.
didn't look like it was moved like that. It looked like it was actually moved where somebody was picking them one by one. In any event, when we move on a little bit further, we notice that Cam's son, Jack, actually shows his father a drawing of his grandfather, of Cam's father, what he would look like if he was dead, if he had suffered death from his ailment. And then he shows another picture describing a victim of one of the Silver Bells' victims. And then he decides to say that he was fascinated because he thought that he decides to say that, you know what, it's interesting because the strangulation on the victim showed that, and then Cam cuts him off. So when Jack was going to state something interesting about the victim, what was y'all's initial reaction on Jack? The fact that he had those drawings, the fact that he was going to explain about the strangulation of a victim.
I was like, first of all, a 10-year-old cannot draw like that. Like, give me a break.
Well, he also
That's-
had a drawing of a disembowelment.
What the fuck?
Oh yeah, right after. That's right. He had a picture of a
Seriously?
disembowelment. And
He's
he
been
said
watching
it-
Seven too much.
And he even stated in a cheerful way, that's when all the guts come out.
I know. I was like, oh my god, what am I watching? This is
I
like
know.
a Chucky movie.
Hannibal
Just
Really?
makes those kinds of drawings.
Oh my god.
I
Jeff.
wish. I mean, not
I wish.
Oh my god.
I wish. Jesus, man.
not specifically those kinds of drawings, but
Maybe
just
of like unicorns
with with that level of
getting
talent
disemboweled.
right now. No unicorn disembowelment. Unicorns are magical, and you don't deserve them.
You don't deserve them, Poppy. You don't deserve them.
them. But anyway, he has a lot of talent and aptitude as an artist, which makes me wonder, like, how advanced he is in comparison to his peers, and whether or not his parents have ever thought, hey, maybe we should like send him to a behavioral analyst or somewhere that can kind of, you know, moderate his skills and kind of judge whether or not he needs, at the very least, advanced placement and extra help with things like social skills and fitting in, and like what's average for a child of Jack's caliber, because you see it when he's interacting with Allison's twins at the hospital. He's just not very impressed by the fact that they're squirming around on the floor like basic peasants.
Well, he's got like OCD. He's germophobic. He definitely is very advanced for his age. Whether
Very,
that's a
'cause, I mean,
good or a bad thing.
He described bacteria as microbes.
Yeah, he called them
And
microbes.
mind you, and I have a degree in biology, and even then, that was kind of interesting that a 10-year-old were to state what was there. So I
Yeah.
thought that was really odd.
I'm not surprised by his drawing talent because his father's a comic strip artist. So, he's a professional artist. He's a professional drawer. And we saw his drawing on that newspaper clipping of the Silver Bells killer. So that was like at least 14 to 15 to 16 years ago. So that would have put him about 10 years old himself when he drew. So I could see, the artist gene sort of passing from father to son.
I know who Jack is. He grows up and adapts the name Hannibal Lecter. That's it.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
So this is a
Yeah.
Hannibal prequel.
Yes.
Yes. Since the NBC so really cut off after 3 years, not even.
Terrible, right?
I'm still bitter. It's been like 3 years. Anyways.
So, the neighbor decides to come by and talk about that her cat is missing, Caramel. And
She was awkward.
right.
But I feel
Oh,
her
yeah.
pain, although I'm not a cat person, I'm a dog person.
I'm not a person.
But she was awkward. She was just like, have you seen Caramel? It's caramel colored. Caramel. And then when she came back and she was like, these are drawings. Like, please put them up. Bye. I was like, that's like
God.
the weird
Screaming.
neighbor that you don't want to talk
Like,
to on a daily basis.
The
This is
first
like the
time-
neighbor that you look out the window and you're like, is she outside? Okay, I'm not going to get the mail right now. Let me wait until she goes inside.
Oh my god, scarily accurate. The first time it was kind of funny because it was like a break from this family and their glacial awkwardness. But honestly, the second time, does she not have a TV or is she unaware of what's going on? Because I'm pretty sure at that point, like, Mitch's heart attack was
Yeah, that was weird too.
So it was weird that she came and like basically demanded that they give a shit about her cat. And I understand that it's sad that her cat is gone, but literally being able to look the matriarch in the face and be like, here, put these up. It'll really help find my cat. This is very distressing for me. You shitbag, her husband just had a heart attack. Like, what the fuck is the matter with you?
Jess, tell us how you really feel.
I wanted the matriarch to like punch her in the face really hard, just like in the face. But the way that she handled it with frosty elegance was very classy.
Frosty elegance.
I still wanted her to get punched or kicked.
I have a feeling that maybe she's like, maybe she was just very paranoid, but I think maybe she knew that the cat was like very close, and we later find out, yes, like Jack took the cat. But, which really blew my mind is like, and then he showed the picture, look, I dismembered the cat and this is how I did it and whatever. And I'm like, okay, you're like 10, go play with like chalk or
You're
something.
like,
Like, seriously? But yeah, she doesn't know anything that's going on. She doesn't know who this family is, or else she wouldn't have pushed her kitty agenda so much.
kitty agenda.
Power of the PUSSY.
I mean, as soon as she mentioned like the cat being gone, I was like, you're never seeing that cat again. Jack has it.
Oh my gosh.
Jack has the cat. The cat is dead. The cat is dead.
Poor
I
Caramel.
was like freaking out. I was like, please don't be dead. Please don't
Like
be dead.
Schrodinger's cat.
Maybe the cat's like, I was hopeful. I was cautiously optimistic. I was like, maybe the cat is like in some hidden corner of their massive backyard feasting on a corpse.
Feasting on a corpse.
Good grief.
Nice.
Can I say one thing? I
Sure.
loved the house. I thought it was such a beautiful house.
I
Like,
love
if
the
it wasn't
color,
for
too.
these people, I would love to live in that house. Like, even if they were to sell the house, like, I would exercise it, and then I would move into the house because it's such a beautiful house.
It is. It's a really, really pretty house. The color scheme, everything, set up, everything is really, really well furnished and everything. With that in mind, we notice that Garrett, Tess, and Cam hitch a ride to go to the hospital in order to visit their father. And we kind of notice how Tess, we see the sibling relationship start to unfold, and as opposed to how it is or how it was back then. We notice that Garrett and Tess have a really good relationship, how they're able to talk with each other, and Garrett even says, wow, how old are you even? I've lost track of time. She says, I'm 27. And kind of noticed that Cam makes little snips, little comebacks, really, where you could tell that he's really upset with him. Where were you? Where did you go? Why? Really, really showcasing that their brother-to-brother relationship is strained, that it's not very good. So we kind of get this impression that it's going to play out some sort of plot or it's going to develop even further later on in the show. Then when we speed up and then they go to the hospital, Garrett, mind you, Garrett hasn't seen his mother, and hasn't seen Allison when he gets there. So when he gets there, the mother, says, it's good you came, and he gives her a real big hug or whatever. And I thought that was kind of interesting because earlier in the episode she mentioned, if he wanted to show up, he would be here. And then he often gives him a hug and appears to be sincere that he's there. And then we see Allison address Garrett, but instead of giving him a hug or anything, she asks, what are you doing here? Not really showcasing that sympathy or that excitement that he's there to visit everybody and to visit their own father. And she simply just mentions, oh, well, I have 2 daughters, Harper and Violet, and she introduces her daughters to them. And then
they were kind of creepy.
Yeah, I thought the daughters were not as creepy as Jack, obviously, but they have their own
creepy enough
measure of creepiness.
They're like the girls from The Shining.
Yeah,
they're
the girls from The Shining.
They're not creepy, but there's we're gonna keep using this word. There's something off about them.
And right when Garrett goes up to his father, I don't know if you guys noticed the father's expression. The father's expression when he notices that Garrett is right in front of him. It's not a sign of relief that he's there, but it was a sign of like, oh shit, he's here.
Yeah, that was so suspicious.
That was really, right? That was really, really suspicious. As he goes in to lean in, we notice that Allison asks the mother, what is he doing here? He decides to finally show up after all this time. So you can tell that Garrett's relationship or Garrett's actions for leaving the family really causes strain in almost all of his relationships with his siblings except for Tess, which I thought that was really interesting. As soon as Garrett and the father start speaking, the father goes into cardiac arrest. You can see from the monitor it starts going haywire and everything. What did you guys think of that little interaction that they had in the hospital? As opposed to Garrett finally showing up, finally seeing his mother, his father, and Allison.
There were a couple things that were going through my mind. I was like, number one, is he intentionally saying stuff to him? Because at that point, they cut off what we could hear that they're talking, and they're focusing on Allison talking to her mom. And I'm like, okay, is he intentionally saying something to him that's causing him to go into cardiac arrest again? What's going on? It seemed hella suspicious, especially the way he was leaning in. I was like, is he pressing on some of the buttons? Where are his hands? What's going on? I was suspicious. What about everyone else? What did Jess? Are you suspicious with me? Or were you entranced by his beard?
No. Facial hair freaks me out. It's a real phobia. But I didn't even realize that he had said something. I thought he maybe slipped him something or
a roofie?
No, or maybe pricked him with a tiny little needle or something, and it was just out of the camera's view or something like that, because I was like, well, that's not fucking normal. But then, nothing about this family is normal. You know what they remind me of? In general? Do you guys remember those old style China dolls with the creepy porcelain faces and the really realistic creepy eyes that would follow you around the room and stare at you as you were sleeping?
I think they would only follow you, Jess.
The kind that are in your bedroom?
I have some in my room, actually. I have little mini for my Nana.
The creepy ones.
Aw, shout out to Sam's Nana.
That, the entire family just reminds me of a lineup of these dolls. They are trying so hard to look exquisitely crafted, but really, they have no souls, and they're bound together by cheap manufacturing dates.
Oh, Jess. So after that little incident happens, the story then progresses to them going back to the house. They're in the kitchen area, and Allison demands to know what Garrett said to their father. and he says, all I simply said was I was glad to see him and that I loved him. So the only real true person that believes him is Tess. Tess is the only person to say, you know what, that was really nice of you to say that to him. But everybody else is a little suspicious that that's what he said before he started to have that heart attack again. And everybody decides to say, you know what, especially Cam brings up, well, that he's in a vegetative state, and they all decide to contemplate their father's condition because they don't know how he is, or they said that he slipped into a coma and everything. So then, speeding it up on through, Brady actually tells Tess that they were able to get a DNA from it and that they're going to go ahead and check the database to see if there is a potential suspect. So, do you think they will find somebody in the database, or do you guys think that no, it's going to be a little bit more prolonged till they actually find some sort of concrete evidence to
I see what you did there.
You did, right? To see if it points to somebody directly or a starting point.
It's not going to be that easy. I can guarantee that right now there's 12 more episodes, and it's not going to be just, oh yeah, by the way, we found these prints, and then just checks out right away. It's Garrett, or it's
it better not be that quick, I swear.
Like, that would be like a
It's
flop.
Jack. In utero, he did it.
I can't see, even with, all of that stuff at their disposal and the police wanting to solve this case, I can't see it being wrapped up neatly or even quickly because, oh my goodness, I'm blanking on their names right now, but the detective that is
Brady.
Brady.
There you go. The son-in-law to the family, who's also incredibly good looking and unfortunately did not get to finish. He
Jess. Are you offering help?
Damn.
No,
Yeah,
he's
girl.
married. But
Oh, okay, yes, that wouldn't be right.
see? I'm not a totally lawless heathen.
Evans.
As I was saying. I don't think that, okay, yes, he wants to be a good cop. He wants to get a promotion, whatever. But when he figures out that his own family is supposedly embroiled in this Silver Bells crap, as far more than just, concerned citizens and a potential future mayor and stuff like that, I think that he will go as far as to cover it up for them, because we have already seen on this episode alone how far they will all go to cover up their own dirty little secrets, or just maybe tread away from them, sweep them under the rug, be like, oh, there's something wrong with Jack. Oh, we can't tell anybody anything. We have to keep it quiet. You know what I mean? So I think he will eventually become sort of an ally for the family rather than the law.
Oh.
Ooh.
I love a bold
Jess.
prediction.
Nice. That's a really good thought. So, moving on just a little bit further to try to close out some of the end points, we kind of noticed that Tess, Cam, and Allison meet in the shed to discuss about the bells in the shed. Mind you, Tess and Cam already know about the bells, but not Allison. So when they discuss, Tess asks whether or not it could potentially be their own father. That it kind of makes, to her, it makes sense that it would be the father due to what the evidence is there. But then Cam immediately interjects and says that, you know what, I believe it's Garrett. I just think it's kind of odd that Garrett decides to come back now when it's at the moment that the incident starts to happen, and that all the murders just literally just stopped right as soon as he left. But Allison then says, that it can't be anybody. That don't worry about it. That we'll deal with it later. And she kind of comes up with this point where, well, what if word gets out that it'd be much harder for you, Tess, to get a job as a school teacher knowing that you're related to the Silver Bells murder. And Cam, what if you're unable to produce any type of drawings or any more because they feel that you're associated or you have a family member that was a Silver Bells murderer? So she says, to leave the box alone, to leave it where it's at, don't move it, don't do anything with it, and that we'll deal with it later. So how did you feel about their interaction together in the shed when it was just them three? Do you think the interaction would be a lot more different if Garrett was there? Or do you think Garrett kind of would have just not really said anything and would have minded his own business and kind of just walk off?
I think the latter, because he's just kind of standoffish so far, because I think he has a lot to say, but he's not saying anything because he's like, these people are so friggin' weird, I'm just not gonna open my mouth unless I need to. So what I also noticed, though, is that Allison, again, is saying, can we just keep this off? Like, don't tell anyone, don't tell Brady, which I thought was really kind of suspicious. But she kind of just brushed it off, and it was like, okay, but I know your campaign's coming, but do you know something? Like, is there, like, I'm just getting paranoid, I don't know. She just kind of seemed too comfortable with, like, pushing it under the rug and just leaving it.
Yeah, that was suspicious.
Yeah,
right.
There's something wrong with this whole family. I did notice, though, that Garrett, I think the only time that Garrett would actively speak up against something like this or about something like this is if Allison was directly in trouble. Because of all the family members, he seems to be fond of her. Like, he even goes out of his way.
You mean Tessa?
Yes, sorry, Tessa. Because he even goes out of his way to tell the younger sister, like, basically everybody's fucked up here, but you're not so bad.
Yeah, he basically just says, if you hadn't reached out to me, I probably would have not come back, and that you're okay, that everyone else is,
So
back.
There's something about her where she's removed from the general chaos of the family, and I think that maybe she is the only, not truly good or truly noble, but the only kind of
sane person.
More or less morally upright character. She's not perfect, but at least, she wouldn't be dragging bodies through the woods and helping people hack them up or what have you.
That we know of.
That we know of, exactly. She could be totally evil, who knows?
Speaking of evil, going on further into the episode, we see Cam actually finding his son dismembering the cat, pretty much cutting off, I believe, the tail, and he's just stunned, completely blown out, surprised, everything about his son doing this, and the son's reply was, it was just an experiment.
Like a scientist.
Why are you surprised?
Like
his son's
a scientist.
Why is he surprised, though? Like, his son's a freak. I'm sorry, not trying to be blunt, but...
No, exactly. You're
Why are you
completely right.
He showed you drawing after drawing, and you're just like, oh my god, why is my son actually, like, acting on this violence? Because...
Well, maybe because Cam doesn't want to, again, like how you guys had mentioned earlier, where maybe he just doesn't want to acknowledge that there's some sort of debilitating issue about his son, that maybe it's, again, like how he had mentioned, it's a phase, or the fact that, well, it's nothing really too serious. But now that this happened, you would think, okay, something is definitely off. Something is really odd going on, especially with Jack for doing that.
Maybe he's just seeking attention.
Maybe.
What kind of attention?
The wrong
attention from fellow
Just
serial killers.
loving
Like
attention.
48 hours attention? Dateline attention?
Yes.
Attention is attention. Even though it may not be the best kind of attention, but attention nonetheless.
Something's wrong with Jack.
Right? So then it kind of, so moving on a little bit further, we see that Allison is tucking in, I guess, her twin daughters into bed, and she notices that she says, is talking to them normally, and then one of the children asks, why was Garrett being so mean to Grandpa? She says, no, she wasn't. She was saying, how much he loved him and everything. And she says, no, that's not what he says. She tells her mom that, quote, I'm going to tell them it was you. After hearing that, what was y'all's initial reaction?
Kids say the darndest things.
Little
that was
shits.
yeah. But I actually believe them because they're small. They don't really know how to lie yet, or like about those kind of big things. They don't know what's going on.
Or they might be psychic.
They might be.
Oh.
They might be. I think Jack might have some prophecy too, because he kind of, I don't know, his drawings. I feel like there's something there.
Ooh.
Yeah, that's what I think. Because he keeps.
Sam Hoover has a good theories tonight.
Yeah, I'm gonna be on the roll for the next few weeks, so watch out for me.
Ooh, all right.
Yeah, the kids, like they're a lot younger than Jack, probably 5 or 6, if that. But they just said it right clear. That's not what Garrett said. This is what he said, and I can believe that because he was kind of gripping his hand. If you notice how he was leaning forward and gripping his hand when his blood pressure started to rise, like I was just like, yeah, that seems more like, hey old man, I love you. Like that's not something that's gonna like put you into a coma. That's too nice.
Definitely. I thought there was something kind of like a little curveball, like, oh, okay. So he lied to his family saying what he really said, and then the kids go out and tell their mother that no, this is what he actually said. And to me, I thought it was just a little suspicious on Allison's part, because Allison, to me, I feel like she didn't give off the true reaction she would have gotten. She to me looked like she just sat there and she just took in the information. So possibly because she's so used to being in control that she wants to have all of the available information on hand and then be able to assess what is the best way to handle this situation. So that was my reaction. So I'm keeping a little bit of my eye on Allison, if anything. And then going on, a lot of things start happening. A lot of things start happening near the ending of the episode where we see that Margaret is with her husband, and then we also see kind of doing like little bits and pieces of different scenes where Cam is with Sophia, where Cam had told Tess to take care of Jack while he goes out and quote goes and sees Dad because he thinks it'll do them good. And there was a little conversation with Cam and Sophia, and they say, Cam tells Sophia that, well, I think there's something wrong with Jack. And she says, well, he is half of us. That was Sophia's explanation. Then we also see Tess tucking in Jack into the bed, and she finds a picture of the cat on the drawing of what Jack was on his little sketchbook, dismembered on the body parts, kind of like the same drawing that you would see from like the cow, like to showcase the head, the torso, and all of the different body parts. And she notices it and she feels like, whoa, that is really, really crazy. And then we also see Allison get off from her bed, goes to the couch and texts Naomi in the middle of the night saying, I can't sleep. So I thought that was a little interesting too.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that she got up, she went to the couch, and she texted Naomi in the middle of the night. Probably some early in the morning, late at night.
Let's be honest.
Let's be honest, yeah.
Let's be honest. Well, you never know. Maybe she feels more comfortable confiding with her. I'm not making any predictions just yet because it's only been one episode, so need few more, maybe one more, 2 more episodes to see what's going on. But then the very last scene of the episode is where it creates this weird, crazy dynamic. The father wakes up and tells Margaret, I need to tell them the truth. So he decides to tell Madeline that I need to tell them the truth. So then she decides to say, do you need rest? Just go to sleep. Typical wife.
Loving wife talk.
Loving quote, if you want to go there. But then he decides to take matters into her own hands and tells him, I love you, and to go to sleep. And what does he do, Papi Chulo? I will go ahead and hand it off to you on this final part.
Well, he goes to sleep, but for a very long time. I've never really been in a hospital situation before, knock on wood. So I'm assuming that the thing that she takes off his finger is to like monitor him so that the nurses don't come in. So maybe she put it on her finger so that the heartbeat is still the same.
No, you're right.
Okay, so then I got that right. Okay, so that's what it seemed like to me. And then he's like, I can't breathe. And then we see it's because she has twisted his oxygen cord thing. And so then he dies because he suffocates because he can't breathe. And she's there looking all steely, frosty, as Jess would say.
But she sheds a tear though. You can see
Crocodile tears.
She sheds a tear. And that's
Like
how
widow
the
tears.
episode ends. So when you guys saw that she killed her husband, what did you guys think?
She's the fucking Silver Bells killer.
I just think Mitch was realizing throughout the episode, like when Allison had that press conference outside, and that he was starting to like feel remorse for whatever it is that he was covering up or that he did maybe. And then I think maybe Madeline noticed that, and she's just like, I need to end this now. I need to end his life, which was very drastic. But I think that maybe what her thought process was.
You think?
Yeah, that was the extreme.
Interesting. Anybody else want to add anything?
Jess, would you have done it?
No!
Okay.
No.
That's terrible. But I don't think that she is the killer. I think it's one of the kids, and she's a total mama bear. And she just threw her husband, she threw her sperm donor onto the bus for the sake of her children. So, just which one of them is a creepy little murderer? Which one? I need to know which one to take off of my Christmas card list right now.
It's Tessa.
I like Tess. Leave her alone.
Yes!
Leave her alone.
She's the only one I like.
I think it's the neighbor.
It's the old lady.
It was Caramel.
Oh, that poor
It's Jack.
cat. It's
Poor
too
Caramel.
soon to joke
I have,
about
like,
that
5
poor
people on my
cat.
list right now,
It was
so
Jack
I can't
in
do it.
utero.
It was Jack in utero. Yes.
Good
Oh,
grief.
so
Madeline is a bad
creepy.
bitch, and I hat tip to Madeline.
Yeah, I tip it
She's
off.
like, she's like the mob boss. Like,
You know what?
I know
just
what I
thought-
gotta
She gotta protect the family, you know?
exactly.
Mitch started his own his own company. I'm sure the life insurance policy was like major bucks.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
50 million, probably.
Yeah, or even more. Yeah.
Well, they're
I
already
thought of
rich.
Funko Pops with that.
Oh my God, Jess! Don't go murder people
So-
with Funko Pops.
That's a terrible idea. Never do that. And if you do, don't say that you got the idea from here.
So, if we had to sit down and rate the episode from 1 to 10 Silver Bells, what would you guys rate this episode, starting off this show? I'll start off with Jess. What would you rate it?
7 silver bells.
7. Can I ask why?
Oh, sorry, my bad. 5.
Oh, God.
Did you give back 2 silver bells?
I just took 2 back. I was thinking of the number 7 because. Anyway, no, 5 silver
'Cause you're in
bells.
love.
Oh, okay. Why would you give it a 5? Real quick.
Just because it had all the promise of a great series premiere, but there was something that it failed to produce for me, and I'm not quite sure what that was. I know that it will get better and more interesting as time goes on, but at the time, it's just not really a captivating premiere for. Like, I expect more from a premiere, but again, like, that's just me being a picky asshole. So
Okay, that's fair. What about you, Samantha?
I want to say 7. I'll do the 7. Yeah, I was really impressed with it. Yeah, it seemed like everything that I could have wanted in a summer murder mystery. It gave me this false impression that they were like really good people, and only like one of them is, and it's just like, well, I don't know Tessa just yet, but she seems upstanding. So obviously a lot of loose ends right now, and we don't know much, but we do know quite a bit actually, just by looking in between the lines. So yeah, I think 7's a pretty fair score.
Okay. What about you, Ava? What would you give it?
I'm gonna give it a 6, but +1 for Elliot Knight because he's a cutie. So it would make it a 7. Yeah.
We'll take the 7. That's fine.
He gets the +1. That's
Perfect.
And
And
I have to agree with the ladies. I mean,
okay.
I was watching it.
Throw your hands up.
Whoop, whoop, yes. I felt disconnected. Like, I was like, okay, just... I wasn't paying attention. I was just watching it just because. Usually pilots are hyped up, so it catches people's attention, so they tune in for episode 2 or 3, whatever the next, for the series basically. But this one wasn't my thing. But I'm still gonna watch it to see if it'll change my mind about it.
Okay, that's fair. And what about you, Papi Chulo? What would you give it from the scale of 1 to 10 silver bells?
I enjoyed it. I'm going to give it 7 silver bells, but not the Canadian Jess style of silver bells, where
her 7 is
Our
like
turns
currency
to 5.
Our currency's bad right now. I'm
Sorry.
I guess
sorry.
it's part of the exchange rate or something.
Yeah.
I don't know.
exchange rate.
That was confusing. But I give it a solid 7. I'm very easy, as I said, when it comes to summer
Excuse
series.
you. Whoa now.
So for me, if it's entertaining, if it's got my attention, if it makes me want to see what happens next, it makes me really praise it a bit more, as far as summer series goes. So I enjoyed it. I thought it was fun. I'm intrigued by the Hawthorns, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what happens next, because we have to catch the Silver Bells killer.
Nice. Okay. And for me, at first I was gonna give it a 6, roughly a 7, but the last part just got me. It got me hooked because it's like, oh, okay, that just happened, so I have to give it an 8. I have to give it an 8 because overall, the episode, I can understand it being a pilot episode, so I can understand that they kind of try to throw in the beginning parts of everybody, trying to throw out as much information as they can to give you an idea of where everybody's coming from. So I can understand the overflow of information. But I really did enjoy the final ending of the scenes where it's like, oh, okay, the fact that Madeline takes, the initiative to kill her husband.
Is that what we're going to call it?
Yes, I'm sticking with it because I like it. I thought it was wonderful. I really like that they just literally just killed off somebody right from the get-go, and now I feel like the fact that it's starting now, I feel like it's just going to keep going and keep going. So I'm really, really hyped to see where they plan to take this.
Oh, that neighbor's going to die.
Maybe, but with that in mind, who do you think the Silver Bells killer is? Quick predictions. Really fast, quick predictions at the top of your head. We'll start off with Jess. Who would you think is the Silver Bell killer?
It's shit.
Shit.
It's a smelly killer.
Allison.
Okay. Got you. Well, Papi Chulo. Who
Wait,
do you
why?
think?
Now I'm intrigued. Why?
Ooh, okay.
Oh, I thought he said to be really quick.
Well, the person you pick, but you can explain a little bit in detail why you think Allison. Or if you just
Because-
kind of feel like picking somebody, then that's fine too.
She just seems like she has to have everything crafted in a certain way to serve herself. So like on one hand, she is completely she's completely invested in being a mayor and a wife and a mother and this perfect image of the perfect woman, but on the other hand, I think I trust Garrett's instincts more than my own, and the fact that he clearly seems to dislike her the most from what I picked up on, and the fact that she is willing to kind of shove the whole, hey, our dad might be a serial killer thing. The fact that she's willing to just be like, hey, let's table that. That's not a real problem. Let's just be like Quicksilver and run as fast as we fucking can away from this situation, because I don't want to deal with it. Why don't you want to deal with it? Aren't you freaked out? Why do you have such a detached mentality towards this? It's almost like it's no big deal. Like, oh yeah, someone in my bloodline could be a serial killer. I gotta go make sure my twins aren't writhing around on the floor right now.
Okay. Ava, what do you think?
Tessa is 27, right?
Yes.
She said it. When the murders start?
Back in 1999.
99. So that would make her 10?
Mm-hmm.
No. Yeah, she would be 10.
Well, they said it was 14 years ago.
Well, 14 years was the last.
Was the last one.
So
right.
she would have been 10.
So roughly 16. So she would be roughly 11 years old when the first murder started.
So she's out of the equation. It's not her. Honestly, I don't know. I can't think of anyone. But if I have to pick, Garrett seems to be the obvious choice because obviously he disappeared and then comes back 14 years later. He's very shady.
Ooh. Okay.
I'm gonna go with Garrett right for now because I'm still not sure.
That's fair. So we got 1 point on Allison and 1 on Garrett. What about you, Papi Chulo? If you had to pick one, who do you think is the killer?
So we're only doing one, or are we because it's the pilot? Do we get to pick?
I'll let it slide because it's the pilot. You can go ahead and add another one if you would like.
Well, I have more than one, but I'll say this: by the end of the episode, I was very suspicious of Cam, of Garrett, of Mitch, and of Madeline. But Mitch died, so in my opinion, obviously he's not the killer because it's going to be someone who's alive because they got to catch the killer. So at the end of the episode, because of what Madeline did, my initial thought was maybe it's her. Maybe she's the killer. It would be a female. Maybe we're not expecting it to be a female. So I'll say that Madeline was probably my final choice after viewing this episode, although I kind of like the idea that maybe it was Tessa because she's like the really, really nice one and maybe she has like a split personality.
That's what I was gonna say too.
But if they don't start dropping hints, at least in a few episodes, that something's a little off about her, then maybe she doesn't have a split personality. But at the end of all that, I'm just gonna say Madeline because why not? Girl power.
Okay, so 1 on Allison, 1 on Madeline, and 1 on Garrett. Okay, Samantha, you have the floor. Who do you believe is a killer, or if you believe it's more, if you feel like it's multiple people, go ahead.
All right. Well, I had a list of 5. Now I'm down to 3 because Ava was like, "Well, if Tessa's not old enough, then Jack's surely not old enough." I know, he just creeped me out, but so he was on my list. Mitch died. Yeah, I'm sorry. No,
he was like a zygote and he killed them all.
Yeah, I know,
killer zygote.
Yeah, and then Mitch was on my list. He was number 1, but then he died. So I was like, yeah, okay. I feel bad for you now that you're dead. So I have 3 left. I have Madeline, who's the second one, Garrett, and Allison. But I'm kind of not leaning against
Madeline.
Yeah, no, I was gonna say Madeline because I don't agree that Garrett is mostly tense with Allison. I think it's his mom. I think that was really telling. She just kind of scowled at him, and he didn't, he returned the favor. So it's like there's something there we're going to see very soon. I think Allison's just kind of like annoying little preppy, like, oh, I need to be perfect at everything. I need to have all control of everything in the world. So that just kind of like Garrett, she's annoying. I would find her annoying if that was me, right? So, but yeah, and then Madeline just kind of killed her husband. So it's like, well, she doesn't want the truth getting out. She's the one harboring, she's the matriarch, she's the head of the household now, so now she has to, I guess, curb the truth in any way she can, so I guess death will be something she uses more and more, so I think Madeline's probably my number 1.
Okay. So 2 points on Madeline, 1 on Allison, and 1 on Garrett. If I had to pick one, after viewing the episode, I'm gonna have to go with Jess on this one. I think it's Allison. And the reason I think it's Allison is because when one of the few evidence that I felt that it could not really be Madeline was the fact that the father mentioned, that I have to tell them the truth. He didn't say we. He didn't mention anything in regard.
He did say we, actually.
I heard I.
Oh, did you? Oh.
I heard I.
I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. No, would like to go back to it now. I could have sworn I heard I, so you could be right. It may be we. But then again, I feel like Madeline, being the type of person that she is, kind of making sure that everybody is okay, but kind of like I was mentioned where she was distant with Garrett for doing what he did, for leaving, I feel like she kind of just wanted to put Mitch out of his misery to get him away from spilling out anything, and as opposed to anything about her children or something about her child or somebody. So I feel like she wanted to make sure that that person was safe, depending on who it is. And I feel like Allison finding out information about what Garrett had truly said to their father, I felt like she wasn't really surprised. I feel like she didn't give that type of reaction that I normally would have expected. And I feel like, and I thought it was just also a little strange that she decided to immediately dispose of Tess's thought about their father being the potential killer, and kind of dismissing Cam's idea of it being Garrett too. I kind of feel like she kind of just wanted to put it away and not think about it, not worry about it or anything like that. But it's barely the first episode, still a little too soon to say anything. So hopefully later on in the episodes they'll go ahead and explain a little bit further. So
I think we're all wrong. I think
they better not.
I agree.
I think it's Harper and Violet.
This better not pull this Harper Island bull crap.
It was Harper and Violet.
God.
They better not.
Oh my god. You know what it reminds me of?
What?
This crappy movie called The Shortcut, where like it goes back and forth between present time and in the past, and it basically shows the relationship between two brothers, and one of them is a serial killer and one of them is like a normally functioning man, basically. And the serial killer's parents are very, very protective of him, and they instill in like the normally functioning brother, like, he is your responsibility, you have to protect him because he needs somebody that will understand him and understand that these are impulses that he can't control. And then in the present, from the same family line, like, you have the same dynamic going on with another set of brothers. So I wonder if, like, Madeline protected her children the first time it happened and, like, it went around, and then it's going to fall to, oh my goodness, why can't I remember his name? The artist brother.
Garrett. Oh, Cam.
Cam.
I wanted to call him Malcolm. That's completely wrong. I think it's gonna fall to Cam the way it possibly fell to Madeline to protect her children. I think it's gonna fall to him to protect Jack, and I don't know whether or not he will be willing to accept that burden and throw, what is good and right out of the window at the expense of, like, protecting his son and making sure that, the world never finds out that his child is this monster.
Jess, go play with your 5 silver bells.
Someone's bitter.
And on that note, join us next time for a brand new installment of the Silver Bells Murders. Visit poppychularadio.com/archives to download this episode and many more. Registered users will gain access to our archives of previously aired broadcasts. You can also download tonight's broadcast through iTunes. Just search for the Silver Bells Murders and subscribe. Please like Poppy Chulo Radio on Facebook by going to facebook.com/poppychuloradio. Help support Poppy Chulo Radio financially by visiting gofundme.com/poppychuloradio and email us via contact@poppychuloradio.com with any questions, suggestions, comments, or even concerns. Are you interested in joining the Poppy Chulo Radio team as an on-air personality or blog contributor? Email talon@poppychuloradio.com. Co-hosts, wish the listeners a very great night.
Good night, everyone.
Good night, listeners. Silver Bells Killer, we will find you.
Good night, everybody. Hopefully we didn't scare you too much, but keep one eye open when you go to sleep.
Good night, everybody. Hope you have a good one. Sweet dreams.
Thanks for tuning in. Join us every Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific for a brand new installment of the Silver Bells Murders. Have a great night, everyone.